Hi, my name is Carranza. I am on my second year post-graduation as an RRT at the same job that I used to do clinicals as well as RT tech. Excuse me. Throughout this presentation, I will be talking about how it is to work in a cohesive group, how to become a leader when need be, as well as the philosophies, how to boost morale, as well as trying to figure out if this new person that's coming into our team is able to coincide and be cohesive with our group, as well as what stuff needs to be done in order for us to see if we need to part ways with another person. If I do look to the side, it's just because I do have notes and I want to make sure that I hit every bullet point. And I will also be adding experience of my life to make sure to make it personal, make sure that I am able to give scenarios and situations that I've been put through, as I have not only worked in the medical field, I have worked in factories most of my life, and that I feel has shaped me with how I talk to not only my coworkers but as well as my patients, just because I understand, and especially where I come from, a good chunk percentage they all work in factories. So let's get started. Okay, so the first things first, pardon me, I was looking at learning leadership philosophy. Basically, it's a leader who makes learning and teaching the top priority, promotes continuous learning, growth, and it's backed up by data and evidence. We are a teaching hospital, so I believe part of this philosophy is learning leadership. Just because we have graduated does not mean that we stopped educating. We always like to learn new things and what is going current within the respiratory field. I can give an example as when I started school, we were told all about RAM cannulas. And once we graduated and I was in the field in the NICU, we were told that we were switching from RAM cannulas to flexi trunks, and they gave us the evidence as to why this switch would be better for our patients. I always love learning new things, what can make it better to give a best outcome for our patients. And I believe we just cannot have a cookie cutter philosophy. We have to have not one type of leader. Whereas when I worked at Factory Life, the leader was the one that was delegating the responsibilities to each person, and every day was the same exact thing. If I was working in the hallway to make ice cream, I had that job and that was my specific job. I didn't do anything else but that specific job, and it was delegated to me. Whereas in the medical field, we can't just delegate something. We always learn, we always teach, especially since our hospital is a teaching hospital. We have to make sure that we are able to teach our students, and they can always tell us, oh, well, this is what I learned from the books and from school, because maybe there are times that things do change, and we have to keep an open mind in order for us to learn. So the next one I saw was participative leadership. Basically, it's a democratic leadership where everybody gets to voice their opinion with no repercussions. I believe this is the main one that my manager has, because there's times that I can email her, oh, well, we just did these changes, but it is actually taking us longer if we would do this instead. Any suggestions that we have the faith that she listens to us, and it's really nice because not a lot of places allow that. A lot of people just, it's like, nope, this is protocol, this is what we're supposed to do, and that's it. In my hospital that I'm at currently, I have had the luck of being able to give suggestions, and I get really good feedback as to why we can't do it or why it's a good idea to do things, and it does get implemented. I do know that One of the things that is being implemented right now is we're updating our continuous pulse oxes for capnography because we have the old school, and I have been giving suggestions. And again, my manager has been fantastic with emailing me back and forth all the time. The other one that I was looking at is transformational leadership philosophy. It's more of a hands-on approach type of leadership. Basically, the leader sets the goal and makes a challenge for the team. Everybody finds a solution, and we try to act on the solution to see if it works or not. And it all depends on what our manager does. Our manager is a nurse, but she is very open-minded with learning stuff about RT. She does rely heavily on us because she would not know some of our stuff, but just as we don't know some of her stuff. So that is really nice. I believe those three leaderships that I have just mentioned has really impacted a lot on how I work, especially at the job that I'm currently at. I have been very blessed to be able to have really great team, really great management. Whereas when I used to work factory lives as a machine operator, as a hallway, as a laborer, I never felt like I was important enough to be able to give suggestions. And that is coming back to the whole hiring process. I remember when I graduated, I had an interview with the job that I am at right now the day before graduation. Not only did my manager come, she also brought one overnight and one morning staff, just because both sides are very completely different. Daytime is not the same as nighttime. And it was because they needed to see if I was a team player, how I would have time management, how do I handle pressure, how am I able to take criticisms, as well as flexibility. And it is a teaching hospital, so they did need to see how comfortable I was in teaching the new students that were coming. So one of the things that could happen was just they gave open-ended questions, which I think is a best example on how to open up with a person, kind of get, not to say the vibe, but kind of get to see how they are. Why did they choose healthcare? The reason why I chose was because I had my son who was a NICU baby, and I saw our scrubs are red. And I saw a red scrub, and I was like, oh, what are they doing? And it kind of piqued my interest, and that's how I ended up getting introduced into respiratory. And then the whole personal life happened, and I decided to go back to school. And I had a friend that told me to job shadow her because she has been in RT for a very long time. And same day, I went straight to the school, asked exactly what I needed to do in order to get into the program, and the rest is history. As well as, I like the fact that they ask, what do you see yourself doing in the future? Because it shows exactly how much you have grown. If you ask the student while they're in clinicals, they can tell you something, but it's in the clinical perspective. Whereas if when they get hired, they're thinking, oh, this is my big girl job, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I'm a little scared. I do know, I think the reason why I was okay with what I see myself in the future and what I wanted to do was because I worked both hospitals. One hospital has NICU and pediatrics, and the other one was a trauma hospital. So I wanted to be open to different types of levels of care for the patients. And I feel like when we do have to hire someone, we have to ask those questions just to see what their reaction is, or what their misconception is once you graduate. Because I do know, as a student, it took me a long time going from student to worker, because it's by the book. As a student, it's by the book no matter what. So yeah. And this is coming to once the person is hired, how do we motivate and boost morale? I remember starting, I felt like I knew everything, but once I started working in the medical field, complete blank. I could not remember most of the stuff, and I did feel like I was failing. I felt like I was second guessing myself as to what am I doing? Why can I not remember? Why am I so nervous? And I think part of the reason why I went over that hump was because our leader, our manager, she recognized the hard work I was doing. I had a caring environment. All of my coworkers who were showing me the ropes were so understanding, so nice. And what I like is that even though my manager is on the top, it's more reliant on us as coworkers, as a team, because we have to make those decisions. Management does a lot of paperwork as well as other stuff, but they're not really there when you have to intubate a pediatric patient. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to talk to the doctors. They can't be there all the time to make those decisions. So I believe that the level of trust that our management has for us to do our job, and recognizing that level of trust, is a very big deal. I remember working at a factory that we would make cookies. I was never recognized. I would work a third shift, then a second shift, then a first shift. I would jump all over. I would pick up the hours. I would do this, I would do that. But it was expected, and I never really got the recognition, which really made me feel like I wasn't valued at all. Whereas my job now, I in our department, in our hospital, we get for you recognitions, and it's not only from our management, it's also from other departments. I've had recognitions from NICU team, I've had recognitions from the ER, recognitions from floors, my manager, all this stuff. And in any time they are in a bind and ask for help, we are always told how much we are appreciated. And that does boost morale a lot, because you have to have a good team that is able to coexist and be in a positive mood in order to have a good outcome when it comes to working. And when it comes to working together, we do have to know the weaknesses and strengths that people have. We can go in my example, my strengths. I am a very fast learner. I learned in the factory how to work a forklift. I had to learn very fast how to work a machine, because that machine was the one that was making cookies or ice cream. So I had to really be able to lean on others to learn exactly what to do. If I made a mistake, I like to be called out, not in front of other people. I like to be called aside and told, like, hey, this is not how we do things, you should do this instead. I own up to my mistakes, and I want to learn from them. So if I do something that is not correct, I always want to be told, because that's me learning and me being able to be a better RT. I prioritize the wants and needs from the patient. I understand sometimes the patient is non-compliant, doesn't want to be there, and maybe just a little bit of just sitting down and talking to them exactly what is going on. Why are they hesitant to wear the white pap, or why are they hesitant to do this and this? Maybe they just need some extra answers, or maybe from a different perspective. I believe that is something that needs to be held in mind, in heart, because I've had a patient relapse, and the family just up and abandoned, and they were not having a good time. And I decided just to sit down with them. And even though it took me those 10 extra minutes, I was able to see exactly what was going on through the patient's mind. Why weren't they doing their treatments? Why weren't they doing the nursing vitals and all that stuff? Just the mental health of the patient was what piqued my interest, and I needed to make sure that they were okay in order for them to be able to have a positive outcome. And those little things always get looked over just because we do work at a hospital and it's always fast paced. But once in a while, if we just like whoosah and talk to the patient, we're able to understand from their perspective what is going on. Now, for my weaknesses, I am basing this off of how I worked as a factory life, changing from me only being me, not having a team, to having a whole team. I am very close. I'm very narrow-minded. I believe that I have to do it. I don't want to bug my other RTs, and I don't want to end up feeling like I'm making them behind because I'm not able to do stuff. So I used to not ask for help, and not being able to ask for help is very detrimental. Sometimes I will go to cath lab with an intubated patient. Sometimes I will go to IR and they're intubated or they're on a BiPAP because they can't be without the pressures. And I had to learn very quickly that it's not because I'm weak and I'm lagging behind. I need to have time management skills and open communication with my coworkers, because if I don't say anything and everything goes back behind because I didn't want to open my mouth, it could be detrimental to my other patients, and I don't think that's fair for them. I also don't have any experience with management skills. I've never really thought of being a manager. I am the type of person that will ask questions as to why, and I will ask, what can I do to be better? And with us being a teaching hospital, I do remember how it's like to be a student. So I want them to be comfortable enough to be able to do their clinicals, but also be able to think on their own, but within the same realm of, okay, I don't want to manage you, I don't want to boss you around, but you kind of need to because you are working under my care, and if something happens to my patient, it's going to be on me. And this also comes to working with coworkers that you know are not a good fit. Sometimes you can do everything you want and you can bend over backwards to help them out, and they just don't want to end up going to their full potential. And when you do have to fire an employee as a manager, it is kind of hard because in our department, we see each other as family, or we're very caring of each other. We're always worried, like if someone's sick, we text them, see how they're doing, if they need anything. If they're on maternity leave, we all pitch together. So we have to also learn that work is work, friends are different. You have to separate those two. And I've been lucky where I've worked as in the factory, where I would hang out with friends and they were my friends, but they understood when I started working, that is my job. We are not friends, we are co-workers. So when it comes to getting fired, I don't really have experience on that part for my end, but I have noticed some people, when they're about to fire someone, my office used to be like right beside HR at one point. I like the fact that they went straight to the point. They didn't lollygag, they didn't make little small talks, because that would confuse the person. They would think that they were not really in trouble, or it's not a really big deal. They would just sit them down, say, hey, I need to tell you something. It's not good news. Inform them right away of what is going on, as well as having open ears, open eyes, open heart. Listen to what they have to say. Don't just say you're fired and have them leave. They're going to go through emotions of, oh my God, I just lost my livelihood. Hear the concerns. Let them just be able to process the whole thing instead of just being a robot, be like, hey, you're fired and go. We are all humans, and that news is not good news. But also make sure to wrap it up. It can't be a thing where the person is in there for 1 hour crying. You have to manage and see how they are emotionally, but don't let it be a pushover where that's all you're gonna do for the rest of the day. Because if it was up to them, they don't have a job. They can waste your time, and time is valuable when it comes to the medical field, because if something happens, you got to be there. Anyways, I do hope that this video kind of shows on my perspective what I learned from this class, what I can do to implement for the foreseen future, and what other stuff that I can do in order to improve. Not just because I'm not thinking about management now doesn't mean that I'm not going to be thinking about management later on in the future. I know that the older I get, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do 12-hour shifts at a hospital and walk a lot. So yeah, I hope everybody has had a good semester. I hope everybody has learned amazing stuff, and I can't wait to see what other endeavors everybody is doing. I hope everybody has a great holiday and a happy new year.